Hey guys, it's Dennis here with the Revog Games. This is our weekly games podcast. I'm joined by
Joshua Weyers, all the way in South Africa.
so last week we did a big video on one of the topics today, the Steam Deck announcement, and we talked about all the details about it and the hardware and all that stuff. So we're going to talk more about that today. But if you want to see kind of our initial reactions and some more in-depth talk about it, you can check out that video. But today we'll talk about that and some other things. Main first thing here, we got to get going. We got Josh. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's been gaming most of the week. Taking things quite easy. Been playing a lot of Valorant and Final Fantasy 14 online because it is now free to play up to level 60, which is amazing.
Yeah, a lot of free to play all over the place.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean that was the main reason I never really got into that game was the monthly subscription. Well, with MMOs it gets you, but
yeah,
hey, it's free up to level 60, which is great. All their expansions are pretty much beyond that anyways. It's a good move by them to get new players in.
yeah.
But I'm doing well. How have you been?
All right, just busy. It's getting hot over here in Los Angeles. It's
Yeah, you guys got fire nados out there in California. I saw.
yeah. All right, so let's get into our first topic, which is a kind of a bigger industry thing. We've talked about not this particular topic, but or this particular news item, but this topic we've talked about a lot, which is this kind of Netflix streaming style for video games. And we said the closest thing is right now is Xbox Game Pass. Well, there's a report out of Bloomberg that says that it looks like Netflix is going to be getting in the game, and it doesn't look like they're going to charge any extra for it. So it's going to be kind of like a free add-on to your existing Netflix plan, which is interesting because Netflix, obviously is a streaming, movies and television network or service, and games really isn't a thing. I mean, they've done quote unquote interactive, television type of stuff. Like what was that? What was it, Bandersnatch or whatever? That was
Yeah.
on the Black Mirror special episode, stuff like that. I think there was something else. There was like a Bear Grylls thing as well. But anyways, they're just not really into gaming stuff. But it looks like that's gonna change, and as they're kind of their ceiling for, they can still obviously get more subscribers for their movies and television, but it's kind of slowing down because you're getting to a point where, look, if you want Netflix, you probably already have it, and
Exactly. Yeah.
it's going to be tough to create any new content that's going to bring in new subscribers because it's started getting saturated. So they're looking to gaming to help do that. Then there was also kind of like some reports of data mining of Netflix, and finding out that there seemed to be some sort of PlayStation tie to them, and people are speculating that certain titles from Sony will be available on this kind of new gaming edition. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to implement this, because you go into Netflix, right? Whether it's on your console or your whatever device, and how do you go through that to your gaming system and play it, unless it's
So
cloud gaming?
it's got to be cloud gaming because the way when I read the Bloomberg report,
Mhm.
it seemed like they're saying it's going to show up in Netflix as like another genre.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be there. Like you're going to have your movies, action, you know what I mean? Like movies, TV shows, and then there'll probably be a tab for gaming. Like it's going to be all in one. So I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of built-in cloud gaming. And if the data mining with PlayStation is correct, I could see them probably using maybe PlayStation Now gets integrated. PlayStation Now is on PC. You can stream PS4 some PS4 games onto your
Mhm.
PC right now. So, I mean, it's got to be cloud gaming if they wanted to run through Netflix itself, which is what
Mm-hmm.
it seems that they're pushing for at no extra cost, like they said. Then most likely it's going to be cloud gaming. They did hire. I thought this was quite interesting. They hired an executive from both Facebook and EA. Well, people. It was the previous vice president that was in charge of working with bringing developers and games to the Oculus Rift. He was brought on board, um, and as well as one of the guys from that used to work from Electronic Arts as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like it seems like, well, considering like I said, the one guy's main job was to acquire games and bring them to Oculus.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what he's doing right now, is acquiring games for Netflix and helping
Mm-hmm.
them out. The data mine, if I recall correctly over here, the data mine leaked that they saw Ghost of Tsushima box art and some PS5 controllers.
Mm-hmm.
So most likely the game I have a feeling that they're going to encourage people to use, it'll probably work with whatever controller you want that can connect to your television. A smart TV has Bluetooth, right?
I'm not sure. I haven't bought a TV in a while, so I know none of
I'm gonna
mine.
I'm
None of
gonna
mine
assume
do.
so. I'm gonna assume so. I know TVs that have got, for instance, got like Chromecast built in. Some TVs have Bluetooth. I don't know, because I'm thinking how they're gonna get the controllers to just work straight away. You know, unless they get a plug-in of some sort, like a Netflix PlayStation dongle thing,
Mm-hmm.
to get it to work straight onto TVs. Um, I gotta look that. I actually can't believe I don't know that, but that would seem like to be if they're pushing the PS5 controller in the data mine, like showing pictures of it within like the Netflix app itself, then yeah, probably cloud gaming through the Netflix app using the PlayStation controllers. I'm
Hmm.
wondering then if we'll still get the benefits of things like haptic feedback.
Not sure. This is very interesting, at least to me, because I've always been saying, like, I believe this is kind of the future of gaming, and then right now Xbox and Game Pass are like kind of at the forefront of that, and their model seems to be working the best. And Sony's kind of, even though Sony is the leader in the last generation and the current leader of this generation of consoles, I'm thinking about in the future, 5-10 years from now, what things are made like. And I feel like this streaming slash cloud is going to be the solution. And while you have people like Google and Amazon kind of throwing their hat in the ring to do stuff like that with Stadia and Luna, it's, they don't really have the game pedigree behind them. And like I mentioned, you need exclusives. Sony is kind of the king of exclusives, with Xbox kind of catching up now with all their purchases of Bethesda and many other game studios. But anyways, the problem is Sony doesn't really have the infrastructure, nor do they have the system right now to kind of capitalize on this. And Netflix, to me, seems like the perfect partner, right? Because they should have kind of the streaming servers to be able to do this. Obviously, that's not
Be able to
cloud.
handle it, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to have to get into some cloud servers and whatnot. But they also have the reach, right? And if Sony can partner with them and put some of their exclusives on there, that kind of can help both parties involved, right? Gets Netflix in the door, into the gaming world, to get the brand into people's mind that Netflix not just doesn't do just movies and television. Now they do gaming. And then for Sony, it's probably a revenue generator, and also a way to also get into people's minds this kind of subscription like service that maybe Sony, whether it's with Netflix or on their own, will create some sort of subscription system or service for fans. Because right now, the value proposition just doesn't look that great for Sony. I know all day long people will talk about the great exclusive games, which Sony does have, no question. And this actually will lead into a different news article. I actually forgot to send you this one, but about Xbox actually being the biggest dollar seller this past month. And there's a reason for it, and it's not because they have the most exclusives. Anyways, so I do think this is the right move by both parties, and if they can pull it off, the question is, I don't know if there's a short-term partnership that's coming, or is it a long-term thing? Is it something?
I think it'll be long term because look, the reason why this partnership isn't so crazy to think of in the first place is not just because of the data mine, but because previously Sony has made a deal with Netflix to get the Sony movies onto Netflix. At least for the foreseeable future, I believe Sony movies are going straight to Netflix when they're streaming ready, Um, and then also going back here, I'm like 100% convinced that it's going to be xCloud gaming now. Like I said, it has to be because they data mined this through an iOS app, an app for the they data mined it through an app, and there's no way that they're going to be running Ghost of Tsushima, for instance, on your mobile phone,
No.
It's gonna be cloud gaming for sure. I think it's a long-term partnership. It's also like we do have to keep in mind that yes, as a partnership seems like the most viable option, but because of what the people data mined, it doesn't mean that necessarily they're just locking in Sony. They could try to get Xbox involved, though that's highly unlikely because of Game Pass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the fact that Microsoft is already putting a lot of money into its own xCloud service.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean, look, like you said, Microsoft, I just know that they're making bank right now, as is with Game Pass, because it's such a great deal. Console sales are going to dry up eventually. Like, PS5 is great, but it needs more games.
Yeah, I mean, both systems don't have any. I mean, not any, but a limited amount. I mean, Xbox even being less than Sony's, but both don't have too many exclusive titles yet.
Yeah, I mean, your libraries get to carry over, but even if your libraries carry over, in terms of new games, you're not really playing much new stuff. That's why the Game Pass is such a good deal, because you can always just try something new out whenever they add something new.
Yeah,
so cool.
Yeah. So let me get into this article.
I think if Netflix does do this, because it seems that my brain is going faster than my words right now. It seems like they say they want to be able to put this in place within the next year, within a year. So it's gonna be happening soon. I mean, most likely not where I live, but definitely in the US and the UK, we're gonna see it slowly integrating within the next year. I'm just more curious as to how the hell they're gonna get the controllers to work. I'm sure there's probably an easy workaround for that, like probably connected to your cell phone or something, or I don't know. I'm sure that there's a easy solution to that. Yeah. But yeah, they have to make a move, like you said, because we also saw them make deals with Epic. So if Sony isn't going to come to PC through Epic, well, they still might. I think Sony's still going to get its exclusives onto the PC through Epic. But in terms of streaming games, I think that they're going to make this deal with Netflix. And look, there won't be much. If they make this deal with Netflix, there's literally no reason for them to have PlayStation Now anymore. So maybe they can try to integrate it or something. Maybe they'll take the entire catalog of PlayStation Now over and get some of that beautiful monthly subscription money from Netflix.
Yeah. So this other thing that I had mentioned was the sales reports came out for June 2021. Two things of note. You have Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was the best-selling game of 2021. But the Switch actually sold the most units, the hardware units, but actually Xbox Series X/S took the top spot for best-selling in terms of dollars. And this is the first time, that Xbox...
I'd imagine the S probably sold a lot. They had those... I don't know how much this is influenced by it, but they had those amazing financing options that the PS5 did not have. Not just the fact that there was a cheaper console, but the fact that there was actually like a monthly fee you could like buy it off, and it would include Game Pass as well. It would be like added onto your Game Pass monthly fee or whatever. They just had much better financing options, and the fact that the S is cheaper and you have Game Pass, which is a good reason to get the S.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense.
So they kind of broke their U.S. dollar sales record. They had 401 million. It is driven by their E3 conference. And remember what you and me kind of reviewed that and said, even though it wasn't like an A+ or whatever, it was a pretty good
was Game Pass.
Exactly. And so if you do have the money, you're like, well, why don't I just get it now and then just play a bunch of games on Game Pass, even though none of the major exclusives are out yet. So that's what's kind of driving this upwards sales for this platform. Obviously the PlayStation 5 is still ahead of Xbox Series S and X for this generation, but it's interesting that particular month they had a nice jump in sales. We'll see if that continues or not, but like I said, they're taking that Netflix model because they keep advertising this how many 3 months, 6 games or whatever. I forgot the exact wording, but they're like, the next few months you're basically getting a game every 2 weeks or whatever. So basically you're looking at that, you're like, well, I'm paying $15 a month and I can play these $60 games, 2 of them every month, So anyways, that's kind of to bring it back to what we were talking about with Sony and Netflix is like, when you see that, you're like, well, they need to get in on that action, right? Netflix wants to get a piece of the gaming spot, because remember, if you think about Netflix, what is their business model? Their business model is streaming content, whether it's movies or television shows, to people for a fee, a monthly fee that they get people paying every month for revenue, monthly revenue. And the only way you drive those subscriptions is with either bringing your library of content that you have or new content. And even though, Sony PlayStation games are not movies or televisions, they do, especially some of their exclusives are very cinematic, very narrative driven. And their content, you put that on that platform, then suddenly the thought is you can start driving more and more people onto that monthly subscription, because then you're thinking, well, not only do I get to watch this library of content, brand new shows from Netflix, but I get to play these games. Now, whether I still don't think like you're going to get like God of War Ragnarok on day one on Netflix. I still don't know, but like I think they will have that library of older stuff like the last God of War, and
it'll probably be like a 6 month later or a 1 year later type deal.
Yeah,
where similar to how cinemas need to make their money, how actual theaters need to make their money. PlayStation has to make its money too, you know what I mean? Or at least like that initial boost of people pre-ordering, people paying the full $60 or I guess $70 for the game. They're gonna have that, and then the game would come in later. Here's 2 reasons why they should do this / are doing this, and why it's good for them to do this. There's one thing that Netflix doesn't have, that most streaming services do have, and that's sports. So like they're definitely too late to get into sports or to try to like land any type of like streaming sports or just stuff like that. They're not going to be able to get into that, unfortunately. I think it's too late for them. All the deals have already been made. I mean, deals can still be made in the future, but it seems like they're not that interested in dialing down sports into their repertoire.
Yeah, they're not doing live, because sports requires live streaming, like not just regular streaming, live streaming, which and like you said, most of those deals like NFL and NBA and NHL and MLB, they're already locked down
pretty much,
or they have their own subscription services from their own company, and buying those are very costly, and they're not really in that business. They're very much into the VOD.
Here's another reason why I think it will be incredibly successful. Well, let me segue into that. Let me actually help take you through my thought process here. The reason why they're doing this is also because currently, like you said, eventually you can't get new subscribers. You have all the subscribers. At a certain point, you simply have all the subscribers. It doesn't matter what content you bring on to get new subscribers. You have all the subscribers, Therefore, it becomes a case of like they're pushing out new content to try to justify raising the prices, your monthly subscription. You know what I mean? The only way that they're going to truly be able to justify raising your monthly subscription fee is if they add an entire category like gaming, That's the only way I can see them justifying it. Like where if Netflix ever became $15 a month And people would be okay with that, I think, if there was like a big catalog of games on there. If they were able to take the entirety of PlayStation Now, which I think is like 450 games or more,
Hmm.
or like I think it's thousands at this point because it's old games as well, like PS2 games and PS3 games. Um, like those will be, and those are easy to stream as well. Like I could see Netflix having success with a lot of older, like Sony IP, for
Hmm.
countries that don't have great streaming capabilities. You know what I mean? Like if Netflix gaming wanted to work out in South Africa, they'd have to let us play old PS2 games or PS3 games. It's the only way it's going to stream without. Well, or you drop the quality, which I guess is what PlayStation now does with its PS4 games. If you stream the PS4 games, you'll just lose resolution,
Hmm.
but it won't lag, but it won't look pretty,
Yeah. Yeah. So.
But yeah, they're definitely going to raise their prices in the future. Like even though they say right away they're not going to, it'll be the same price. I guarantee you, once they get enough games on Netflix, they will raise the price of
Hmm.
their monthly subscription fee. It's the only way that's going to make it worth it, as well as making it worth it in a way that we'll get more better games, if that makes sense
Hmm.
too. Like if they do raise their monthly subscription fee because of the gaming thing in the future, I would assume that that would also come with a bunch of really cool other exclusives that we could be streaming.
Yeah, right now
Hopefully.
a Netflix subscription is $8.99 for the basic plan, but that $8.99 is for non HD. Like you literally just you know watching like
Yeah.
standard definition.
At least there's no ads like Hulu or
No,
HBO minus. I don't know what the hell the ad version with
uh,
HBO that's coming out is.
so it's
Um,
$13.99 for the standard, which is you get your HD content
and
and
four
whatnot.
people, right?
Yeah, yeah, four people. That's
Up to
that's
four people
that's
can
what
use
I
it.
have. That's what I have. Uh,
The family deal is a good
Yeah,
deal.
and then they have $17.99 for premium, which is you can have like how many people on that one? Like I forgot the amount of people, but
Man, I would not pay more than
oh,
that.
four. You could do four people at the same time, and you have 4K on there. What's interesting too is the pricing. Remember back in the day, Netflix I think was like $7.99, and then it went to like
Yeah.
$8.99, then $9.99. So it just keeps going up, but it makes sense because if you look at all the kind of the like HBO Max is $14.99, and they're not coming down. That's why they made that ad tiered one, right? Because
Yeah.
okay, if you want some of the HBO content but not the premium stuff, you can get it for a lower cost, but you got to watch some ads.
I never understood that. Like, I know people do choose that option, but it's like I would rather just, if I can't afford to pay the extra $5 to get the no ads, I would just rather not be subscribed than have to watch with ads. I'll just stick to YouTube and content creators giving me content for free, essentially.
Hmm.
You know, I don't know. I don't get it. I'm sure there's a market out there for it, but yeah, I like even so their premium is quite expensive. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't feel comfortable paying more than $15 for
Yeah,
Netflix if it included gaming.
yeah. I think that fifteen
Like 15,
dollars.
16, $16 at most,
Yeah, I think
depending on what
fifteen
games are on there.
dollar right now is kind of the cap of where people want to pay
Yeah.
for subscriptions.
That's like Game Pass Ultimate as well, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like it kind of fits, yeah.
All
Either
right.
way, I think it's gonna be successful. I think it's gonna be successful.
Yeah, I just want to see their implementation. That's what I'm most interested in
Mm.
seeing. Implementation and what games will be available. I mean, also you remember, like you mentioned before, it doesn't necessarily mean it's just gonna be Sony games. They could reach out. Xbox is highly unlikely,
Yeah.
but maybe they make a deal with Ubisoft. Maybe they make a deal with EA. Maybe who knows who else they want. I mean, right now EA has a deal with Microsoft and
Yeah,
Game
they could
Pass.
make a deal with Rockstar.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. All right. This next one we talked about in that other video, the Steam Deck got
Yeah.
announced, which is the portable. It's like a portable PC console that plays games off of the Steam OS. Very aggressive pricing, $399 for very high end software. Obviously, if you want bigger space, you have to pay more, $530 for 250 gigs, $650 for 512. But if you can really only afford $399, you got the 64 gig version. Though some games might not fully be able to be installed on there. So once this got announced, the overall reaction from the gaming community has been very, very positive. People look at it and go, "Look, oh, that's something that they're very interested in, and the cost is very good. They put the reservations, the pre-order reservations.
There were issues with the reservations.
Yes, to be expected. I figured, right? I mean,
Yeah, just influx of people, you know.
same thing happened with Xbox and PlayStation. Why won't it happen with this? Yeah. So there was like error screens and long waits, but that's what happens with new hardware. I think the question will be, once this thing finally launches, which is actually not that far away, how the hardware will sell in the next, year after it launches. That's, you can sell a lot of things in the very beginning, but if it doesn't maintain, it's a little harder to keep up, because for this to be worth it, it needs to be a hit.
Yeah. I will say the one cool thing that they did with this is that in order to like stop scalpers and things like that, you can only purchase it if your Steam account was created before June 2021. So you can only get the Steam Deck if you don't have a Steam account and you create a Steam account now. I believe you might have some difficulties getting the Steam Deck, at least through Steam itself. But that's a pretty cool way to stop bots and scalpers. I think, can't create new accounts. You have to have an old account in order to get it. Pretty genius, whether it works or not in the long run, we'll see. I think it'll work, but like you said, that it did bring in those issues. People ran into some problems. They had to like spam to try to get into their cart and buy it.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, besides those hiccups, everything is looking good. Yeah, they don't have an exact release date. They just said holiday season of 2021, so we're looking at November, early December, for something like this. Much like the Quest. It's funny because I always compare the Switch, now the Valve, not the Valve, the Steam Deck, and the Oculus Quest as kind of these interchangeable, consoles, right? Because they're all three are mobile, and they all three play different games, different types of games, but it's like if you have that extra $300-$400 and you're really into gaming, that's kind of where you're going to spend your money. You're going to pick one of these. I mean, if you're rich or you have tons of money to spend, okay, maybe you're going to switch at Steam Deck and the Oculus Quest, but most people will probably choose one, maybe two out of these three type of consoles. In addition to they're already owning an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many things to spend money on.
I mean, also with cloud gaming on the rise as well, getting the cheapest one wouldn't be that bad either. If you think of it as an investment, where it's like, look, 3 years from now, it's not going to matter how much hard drive space you have if you're going to be streaming your games.
Mm-hmm.
If you take it that way, then it is an investment. I still personally would go for the one with more hard drive space if you got the money for it.
Yeah, so would I, just because
if they are confident, by the way, that there won't be any drift issues, which is an issue and has been an issue with the Nintendo Switch. Most likely with the newest model as well. I remember the Nintendo Switch was getting sued by some country a while ago because of the drift issues in their joysticks. But Valve is they're confident that there won't be any drift issues.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I believe them, considering that they're manufacturing it themselves. I don't know if they're manufacturing it themselves, but I'm assuming that they are, because they were able to manufacture the index.
Mm.
So, and if they're doing it, like they are planning to sell a lot of these, but I'm sure they're not planning to sell like 100 millions. You know what I mean?
No.
If they're just taking sales through Steam, and they're only taking reservations from people who have got an account before June, I'd imagine that there is like going to be a limited amount.
Yeah, definitely.
Most likely a limited amount.
Yeah, and we got to see. Remember, early adopters for something like this, of course, things are going to seem like there's a frenzy of trying to get it. It's going to be, like I said, a question 6 months down the line. Are people... The great thing about this is that it's tied into an existing basically library of content, right? So
Yeah.
there's no like, oh, I can't, like when are the new games coming out? It's like there's tons of games, and every game that comes out most likely will work on this. I don't know what the percentage is yet of Steam library games that work on here, but if we see demos with,
it's literally unlimited, Dennis. As far as I know, every single Steam game works on this because of the touchpads, because that's the way that they integrated it for the old Steam controller, which had the touchpads. They had it integrated in a way where every single game can work on it. Whether it works well or not, that's the question. You know what I mean? But every game should work on it, as well as the possibilities are endless because you can run emulators on there. You don't have to stick with the Steam OS. You could install Windows, download an emulator, play your old like favorite PS2 games or whatever, your PSP games. In actual fact, I would go so far as to say I think that it is capable of it, but not all games. You could even run a Nintendo Switch emulator on it, which it's possible. I wouldn't recommend playing a game like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild because it's big open world, but anything that isn't open world, anything that's smaller, will run, in theory, should be able to run if you drop the resolution as well. So the possibilities are damn near endless with this thing, especially with like I said, cloud gaming in the future. It's an investment, really. That's the one thing I didn't consider when we did the video a couple days ago, which is that the 64 gig, even though it's not appealing, the price is appealing, and eventually gaming will be streamable. So that is why that $400 Steam Deck version does seem very, very nice.
Yeah, it's very attractive. Like I said, it's something where even myself, who like I mentioned, I'm probably not the right market for this, not because I don't have Steam games and not that I don't play PC games. It's just I'm just not a big mobile gamer. But even something like the price point makes it very attractive to me. Like, oh, should I get one? And I think about it, I'm like, yeah, but if I actually got one, would I actually play it? Other than in rare circumstances, I just don't see myself utilizing it to get my money's worth. But it's so attractive from a hardware and software standpoint that it makes it feel like, oh man, I should get one,
Yeah.
But like
for the price point, like we know they're selling them at a loss.
Yeah.
So it's like it is a gain if you think about it. What doesn't matter what version of this you buy, you're technically getting hardware that's worth more than what you're paying for.
Yeah. In hopes that they make their money back with you buying more Steam games than you would before. So so if anyone wants to check out that video we had done before about this, it's on the channel. All right, this next one is something we kind of knew was coming, but we didn't know the particulars about, which is this Tom Clancy free-to-play multiplayer shooter. We know the name now. It's called Defiant, which to me is a little, I don't know, just kind of generic.
I was going to say it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Defiant.
And so they had an announcement trailer, which is almost 4 minutes long, and they talk to the executive producer and the creative director and show you it's a 6-on-6 shooter.
Yeah.
And they show you how the different factions, basically based on these Tom Clancy properties, are utilized. It looks to me like kind of a cross between Apex Legends and Call of Duty Warzone. Like they're kind of trying to get some of the more realistic type of stuff from Call of Duty, and then also mixing that military theme, but then kind of adding these kind of powers, much like Apex Legends, and kind of using the factions and the people, trying to get these specialized characters in there. So yeah, the beta is going to come out on August 5th on PC. It's going to be available for all the different systems across the board. Ubisoft is really trying to with this, they had that failed. I mean, can I say it's failed or failing Hyperscape? Yeah.
Oh, unless some
miracle
huge streamer starts playing it every single day, it's dead. And it sucks because it's not a bad game. It's not the best game, but it's not a bad game. It could have been better, but people fell off. No one's playing it anymore. The servers are dead. It doesn't matter how good a game is if the servers are empty.
Yeah, but then we also talked about last week the Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed free to play
Mm.
version. Like they're just really trying to get into this freemium model. What they see Fortnite and Apex Legends and Call of Duty Warzone like just churning cash doing this, and they want to get in on that action. You know, they're
I'm
so.
gonna call it right now and say this is gonna fail.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm like it just. It
Why?
just
Why?
looks-
Why do you think it's gonna fail?
Okay. First of all, 6v6.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that 6v6
Too many people?
is. It's just too many,
Yeah.
especially when you're like communicating within your own team. Look, it's only 6 people, but 6 people yelling out angles and call outs, it can get a bit much.
Mhm.
Even like, and I would actually go as far as to relate this game as more of a cross between like Call of Duty multiplayer, like just generic normal Call of Duty multiplayer, but meets Overwatch.
Mm.
Like it's
Okay.
I'd say it's more like, even though yeah, you can relate the abilities to Apex. If it's 6v6, it's gonna be smaller arenas.
Mhm.
I think it's gonna be more Overwatch-esque, even like, except obviously not cartoony, and the gun gameplay will be a lot more accurate. You're not gonna be like shooting lasers or blasters or whatever, you know. Um, yeah, it seems like it's gonna be a cross between Call of Duty multiplayer and, but like set to like the style of Overwatch. And even Overwatch has learned its lesson. Whereas in Overwatch 2, it's no longer 6v6, it's 5v5. Even
Mhm.
they decided to drop down from. I think it's a mistake for them to do 6v6. Uh, the game looks fun, but it also looks really generic.
Mm.
You know, um, what was it? Wildlands was quite fun too, but there's something about these games where it's like they're fun, but I just don't see people playing them for a long time.
Mhm.
I could look, they're obviously going to push microtransactions in this. They're going to be pushing cosmetics.
Of course. I mean, how are
Like
they gonna make money? It's free to play.
that's how they're going to make money, and I have a feeling that it might be more than what you like it might be Valorant slash CS:GO prices. Like, look, Valorant, some of the weapon skins in that are like, it's abnormal how much you're gonna spend. You're gonna like £80
Mhm.
to get a full set of stuff. Like that's $80 for like that's like more than a, it's more than a game for some skins, you know. Well, keep in mind that's a collection, but still,
Still.
I see these people overcharging. I think they're gonna overcharge in their cosmetics. I think that 6v6 is gonna be too much. I think it's gonna be fun. There's probably gonna be a hype for like a few months, and then it's gonna die off. I just don't see it having longevity, which is what obviously they're aiming for, but I just don't see them having that.
What I find interesting is, to me, the game itself is not. It doesn't have anything to do with the Tom Clancy universe. They're just
Yeah, nothing to do with Tom Clancy. It's just his name.
They're using those worlds and that IP and those names. You know, they're the wolves from Ghost Recon. You know, the cleaners from the Division.
It's like using James Bond's name and giving us a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah.
That's what they've done.
and so, because the one thing that kind of, you know, I don't really play a lot of these type of games. The one thing I got disappointed was it's gonna be fast paced action. I'm like, you know, I remember the first kind of Rainbow Six and the first Ghost Recon and Splinter Cell. Those aren't fast paced games. You know what I mean? They're more tactical and whatnot.
I would have expected them to go more tactical, especially with like the success of Valorant, and just looking at the previous Tom Clancy games being more tactical. Even the Division, like all those games were more tactical, and they decided, no, we're gonna go for something fast paced. 6 people yelling at each other, you know, no patience. I don't know.
So we'll see if the gamble pays off, but it really does seem like Ubisoft is really trying to get into that freemium model, and trying to make it work. It didn't work out with Hyperscape. We'll see how it works with this. We'll see how this works with Assassin's Creed. You know,
it does look fun. Like I'm looking through the video again. It does look fun. I just don't see this having longevity.
Yeah,
Or like going on for too long, you know?
This is one of those things where like you have to hear other people just raving about it, you know, for me to be like, okay, this is something I should check out, but you know.
The maps look just a little too big as well. I don't know, from the videos I was seeing. You know, which, well, then again, like I guess then you can have as long as they have smaller maps to go with it, because then at least you can still have fun with your sniping and stuff.
Yeah.
it does look a lot like, I will say it does look more Call of Duty than Tom Clancy, just in
Yes.
terms of like looks and the way the gunplay works.
Yeah.
Looks more like Call of Duty than any of the Tom Clancy games I've played lately.
Yeah, and it's also colorful, much more like a Fortnite, Apex Legends, Overwatch. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I don't want to say it, but it looks low. Like, I would not cheap, but it doesn't. It just looks lower budget. Like they didn't want to take too big of a risk. You know,
We'll
like
see.
it doesn't look next gen. It doesn't look next. Well,
Well,
maybe that's
I
them
think
trying to
that's
get it on more
yes,
PCs
yeah.
and more.
I think that's what it is versus the money. I think they just want to make it accessible. You know.
Onto everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that and see how that works. But yeah, the beta is not that far away. It's just a few weeks away. We'll see. I want to see what people's reactions to it are. All right, moving on to the next subject, we've got the Last of Us HBO series. They've kind of calculated, how much each episode has cost, and they're kind of averaging more than 10 million per episode, which means that's a lot of money. I mean, I remember when Game of Thrones first came out. Obviously, they surpassed this later on, but when they first came out, they did not. I forgot how much the costs were, but it was like
6 million an episode in the
Yeah,
first season.
yeah, it wasn't as much as this, and now we've got
Like,
over $10 million. Season one it's 10 episodes, so they're saying it's going to be over 100 million for the entire season. Mandalorian is about 15 million per episode. So yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
The Mandalorian cost about 120 million to make.
yeah,
So in comparison, they know that there is success in throwing down that much money in a TV show.
yeah. So
I think that's good. I think it's gonna be great. We've been saying this from the beginning, but even for people that have never ever played the game, they're gonna love this.
yeah,
Like I can see this getting. I feel like this is gonna be a thing where if it is good, I mean I love Pedro Pascal. I think he's gonna kill it. If it is good, more people are gonna know about The Last of Us than they do about the video game. I think
yeah.
it's gonna be one of those kind of cultural things where
Oh, that's what happened with Game of Thrones.
you're gonna be talking to like your cousin at a barbecue about it, and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I love the video game, and he's gonna be like, it was a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna blow people's minds.
Yeah, Game of Thrones was a book series, and then it became
Exactly,
Walking
yeah.
Dead was a comic book, and then now it's a TV show. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of franchises that more penetrate pop culture once they kind of hit the movies and television. Even though video games is money wise is a bigger industry than movies and television, but that I think has a lot to do with the amount of money that's spent per game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus television and movies, right? So yeah, I'm interested to see. I trust HBO. HBO is kind of, when you talk about brands, like it's one of the more, to me, like trustworthy brands in terms of quality of entertainment. I don't know them as ethically whatever they do behind the scenes, but I'm just talking about in terms of quality from a brand perspective. They put a lot of good stuff. Not everything hits 100%, but they really emphasize that. And throwing that amount of money on this video game franchise, I think is telling, like, okay, they really believe in this and they want it to succeed, and I have a feeling it will, because the thing is yes, there is zombies or that zombie element, but really it's far less of a zombie game than it is.
And like I think it's more of like a movie. It's like a in-depth. At least for me, that first game was so. It was just about survival. Like I felt like I had to survive for my freaking life, man. The first time I played that game.
What's interesting too is the second game kind of almost pushes aside the whole zombie narrative, right? The whole, like, with the clickers and what they're just kind of pushed to the side. I mean, they're still there, obviously, but like the main thrust.
People are scary too.
Yes, the main thrust of it, and yes, Walking Dead was like that as well. But I felt like Last of Us was more so. The emphasis on the zombies was not as much. So and also I want to see what's different. I want to see how far they go and what's going to change. And then, you know, it sounds like the whole first season is going to be the first game. So, and, you know, we predicted that probably the second and third season are probably going to be the second game split into two.
I know for a fact that we're getting the opening scene in The Last of Us will be the opening scene of the series, most likely, because we saw stills of the car from that the first like couple of minutes you play of the first Last of Us when you're in the car driving away, and then so we know it's going to start off with quite the sad death. I'll leave it at that for anybody who hasn't played the game because of spoilers.
Yes.
But the show's going to start us off with a brutal death already.
Yeah.
Just to set the tone.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all I have. What do you got on your list of things?
I got a well, the biggest thing I'm excited about is they released a behind the scenes video for Skate 4, which means that they're actually working on it. It's not a myth. They're working on it. It's gonna happen. I'm so absolutely excited for this. Hopefully, they can get it onto Game Pass. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, it's EA, so it'll be on EA Play. Therefore, it should be on Game Pass, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I think it'll come to EA Play, but I'm looking forward to that. They just showed a bit of the behind the scenes. They are working on it. They're not going to be showing it off at EA Play Live 2021, unfortunately, but they are working on it. So I'm excited about that. This is quite interesting news. It's just your random weekly gaming news, but thousands of PS4s from a supposed cryptocurrency farm in the Ukraine. They were seized last week, and apparently they were being used to grind FIFA Ultimate Team for various accounts that they then sell on the black market. But yeah, 3,800 PS4s.
Yes.
I'm like, the photo is crazy. You just have all these PS4s just lined up next to each other on these shelves. And they're just grinding FIFA Ultimate Team accounts so that they can sell them. That's crazy, man. They also found 500 video cards and 50 processors and a couple of other things. But yeah, that was crazy in the Ukraine. So yeah, just goes to show. There must be a market out there for people.
It's hilarious because they thought it was for cryptocurrency, and then they're
they busted them for that. But instead, well, it's still a legitimate scam. Like where they were probably making more money than crypto because it's you can mine crypto. Or you can like mine a FIFA Ultimate Team that's worth like $200, $300 just for the team, and then sell the freaking team. Like your money's bigger that way. It's also imagine it's harder to track because if you're using GameExchange.org, which is a legal trading site for you to be able to sell accounts and in-game items, became famous in the old World of Warcraft days. But yeah, I always knew there was a market for it, considering that my Epic Games account has been stolen and sold 3 times, and I keep recovering it. So I feel more bad for the people who are spending money to get my Epic Games account and then they just like, oh man, they spend the money and then I just take it back. Anyways, I got 2-factor authentication now. It took me forever, but they'll never do it again. But yeah, crazy. And then the last bit of news I have here is not that surprising. It's just obviously after the Steam Deck came out, people were looking at Nintendo going, huh? Nintendo Switch Pro? Huh? Nintendo Switch Pro? And Nintendo said, no, just OLED model. That's all you get. OLED model, slightly better battery. Have fun.
No. It's a different
plans to
different market.
come out with another console. A very different market. Like, I would still get a Nintendo just for the exclusives, you know? Like I said, because I have a PC, I don't need to get myself a Steam Deck, although it is appealing and I would want it. I would rather have a Nintendo Switch just because I already have a PC. If I didn't have a PC, I would get the Steam Deck.
Yeah, or you could get a Quest as well, you know. It's a whole different experience. So.
Well, what I like about the Steam Deck is that in theory you can still get work done depending on what kind of work you do for a living, you know? You can plug in a mouse and keyboard and a monitor and
it's a portable PC or whatever, but you do need that. So, you know, it's like, okay, wouldn't you rather have a laptop? You know, it's just it's more portable than a laptop, but then if you factor in a monitor and your keyboard and mouse and all that stuff. So anyway,
if you're just doing Excel spreadsheets, you know, you know what I mean? I think there's a market for it nonetheless. Definitely people traveling, but the main market will be kids. because they don't want people with existing Steam libraries to come over. I mean, they do, but they mainly want people with 0 games in their library. They want they want kids to get this that are like 13 years old, going, "Oh crap, now I have to buy a bunch of PC games," and then they will.
Yeah.
That'll make its money.
Cool. You got anything else going on?
That's all I got.
Cool. Yeah.
That's all she wrote.
See what happens this week with stuff. I've been playing. I personally been playing like VR stuff. I mean, besides obviously our pickup basketball VR game, which we're working for on a Quest version. It's getting very close. I played that game. I'm gonna put out a video later this week about it. It's called A Township Tale, and it's like one of those. The concept is really cool. It's basically like a VR Minecraft, where you can get online with other players and like build stuff and craft stuff and go fight, random enemies. But the interface itself and the gameplay mechanics are actually terrible. Just everything's not intuitive. There's a lot of bugs. It's weird. It's like there's the draw of the actual game itself and how cool and how much potential it has, and then the actual execution of it is very. It's like you're playing not even an early access game, like an early access game. There's just so many things that just need to be polished.
I'm sure you're excited to see where it's going to go, though. That's
see.
how I feel about games like that.
Yeah, but who knows if I'll be too frustrated by the time it gets to that point.
True.
But we'll see. All right, I guess that's it for this episode. It's a little shorter episode this week. Hopefully, we'll get some more news to talk about.
There wasn't much news. I will say before we leave, there was a couple other news in terms of like acquisitions, but I don't think it's anything anybody cares about. Tencent just bought Sackboy and I think Sonic Riders or something, or the studio that made them. But they were quite small acquisitions, so I wouldn't worry about it.
All right. Cool. All right, guys. You can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Revog. Also, we have a podcast feed. You can find that on Spotify or on Anchor.fm. Josh, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitch at Josh_Toki. I don't have any videos up. People were asking me if I do stream. I do. I have no videos up or no clips because I use copyrighted music when I stream.
Yeah. Are you going to change your ways or are you going to keep doing that?
I mean, hey, if once I become affiliate, then yeah.
Okay.
But until I'm affiliated, I'm just going to be doing my own thing,
Cool. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.
All right. Later, guys.